Welcome to What Lies Ahead. I'm your host, Chris Raffini, lead singer of the Long Island band Overthrow. On my podcast, I explore everything related to the hardcore scene through the eyes of artists, promoters, and record labels. As always, please like or subscribe on all social media platforms. Today, I have Dan, the frontman of Long Island's Private Mind. They have a few releases out, with most recent their EP, The Truth You See, on Triple B Records. The band perfectly blends emotion, heaviness, and melody with a distinct Long Island sound. We'll talk about the band's beginnings, his new label, Heaven Hardcore, and what's next moving forward. Dan, thanks for coming on, man. How's it going?
Chris, thank you for having me. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man. I'm psyched to have you on. And honestly, you guys come up a lot on here. A lot of bands that I've had on here, uh, from Sky Came Falling, Brendan from Incendiary, just to name a few. About like what bands you like, new bands, and you guys have been around now for about 5 or so years, but you guys come up a lot. Like your new EP, I mean, it's a couple years old now almost,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but
Well, that's
somewhat
awesome.
new.
Yeah.
Super catchy. It's awesome. So
Thank you.
psyched to have you on here to talk about the band stuff.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's talk, I guess, obviously about your history, my man. So history getting into music, right? And what like your first recollection of music, and then what built from there, and then hardcore, going to shows, your first show, all that.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in a musical household. It was always around, whether it was being played or whatever. My mom's side of the family, they play for a worship team at our church out in Queens, where I used to live. And so my mom had taught me and all my siblings how to play like the piano and stuff. I didn't like it too much. I actually wasn't really good at it at all, but I was also like 4 years old. I had no business learning an instrument, I thought. But yeah, we had a guitar at home, and I knew I wanted to learn how to play the guitar just because I thought it was cool. So she would teach me how to play the guitar on the condition that I play for the church. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a deal. I get to learn songs and play in front of people pretty much every Sunday, right? Um, so I pick up the guitar within the next year or so, which that would mean I'm like 6 years old, I think. And it was cool. I picked up pretty fast, I think. And the only issue was that, with her working full time and me being a kid, it's like I didn't have someone to teach me
Mm,
all too much, except for like the lead worship guy at my church. And I wasn't gonna wait a whole week just to go to church and then learn the songs, and that be my only kind of way to figure out how to play the guitar. So around the same time, my siblings and I, we had picked up like the Guitar Hero games on the
mm,
Xbox, and that's basically like where I found out all of the music that like knew I liked. So especially the punk stuff, I geared more towards the punk sounding stuff. And one of the first songs on Guitar Hero 2 was Salvation by Rancid, and I knew right then that's like what I liked, like the aesthetic of it. And so I would learn how to play those songs from just playing the video game. And YouTube at this point is like pretty brand new. It's like a year or two old. So I would search these songs on YouTube and like looking back at it now, I was pretty lucky that someone would even upload these songs on YouTube, like
mm,
because I guess I mean, yeah, they're popular, they were around, but like to have them just on a brand new website was kind of crazy. So I would find out about all these punk bands and go down like a rabbit hole of just punk, metal, and even hardcore. I didn't know what hardcore was. I mean, I was a kid, but I would stumble upon bands like Minor Threat, Bad Brains,
mm,
and like Gorilla Biscuits, and not knowing, right? Not knowing it's hardcore. Just okay, it has guitar. It's fast. It sounds punk. I'm just calling it punk. So I'm learning all these songs. Like Green Day was my favorite band at one point. Sum 41, just anything a kid would listen to.
mm,
So this is what 2007, right? 2008. Um, and this would be basically my life for the next 10 years, right? From 7 to 17, I'm going to church, playing in front of people, learning church songs, and then after school throughout the week, just learning how to play songs on the guitar that I find on YouTube. Um, and I would go through all the phases too, right? So I'd find out about like 90s, like emo bands like Mineral, Sunny Day, shit like that,
yeah.
you know? And then I had like the heavy phase too. So anything that sounded like Slipknot, any sort of, I guess, derivative of metalcore, again, like all its subgenres and whatnot. Um, me being a kid still, I don't know the difference between any of that stuff. It has a guitar and it sounds cool. I would also pick up the drums and the bass, like teach myself just from playing at the church. And I attribute a lot of my pretty much like what I do now to the church, just because, dude, you were basically the cool thing about it was the members of the worship team were my brothers, so we all played together,
Mm.
and so I was just like chilling with my brothers, jamming, and it would be like my first steps into playing with a band, right? Like learning how to play with people, and it was easy because they were my siblings. I didn't have to get to know someone, like some random kid at school. I would just be playing music with them, and it was just something we did. So that's how I got into music. But in terms of hardcore, right? So I mentioned just all those YouTube videos and stuff. Somewhere down the line, maybe 2000, let's say it was like 2011, 2012, I start using Tumblr, which, if anyone listening doesn't know, is like a website where you blog and you just share a bunch of stuff, another social media type of thing. And I stumbled across the music video for Head in the Ceiling Fan by Title Fight. They would have just dropped it because it was 2012, I think. And if you've never seen the video, it's filmed in VHS, so it looks like it's from the 90s. And I'm thinking, okay, cool, like a 90s band. Let me check it out. And it's really good, something like I've never heard before, but it was familiar enough, where I can kind of catch on, and it made me want to learn their song. So I click on other videos and that are also filmed in VHS. I'm like, dude, this is the fucking like the greatest thing I've ever heard. Why have I never heard of this band growing up? So I look them up and come to find that they're like not much older than me. They're probably like 4, 5 years older than me. I don't know. I've never met the guys. Um, and they're playing hardcore shows. They're playing This Is Hardcore. They're playing with hardcore bands. And so at this point, I know what hardcore is. So I just go on a deep dive of Title Fight now. I found out about what straight edge was officially through Title Fight. Yeah, like I found out about Minor Threat when I was a kid. That didn't really, click with me. But they early on, you'll see videos of Title Fight. They had X's on their hands, and it's not just from them being young. Like they fully rep straight edge when they were younger. Um, so I like wanted to identify with that. Um, and then I start going deeper into like their discography. I click on Shed, right? And it's like, okay, produced by Will Yip and Walter Schreifels. Who's Walter Schreifels? Oh, he played in that band that I found out about when I was a kid, fucking Gorilla Biscuits.
Mm.
Um, do more info on him. Okay, he sings in a band Quicksand. And then that changed everything. From that opened like a whole new like door for me. Like, all right, what I thought was post hardcore, which was like, I don't know, like the heavy, I guess, metalcore stuff, right? That
Mhm.
any kid my age was listening to at the time. That's what I thought post hardcore was. And then there's just this whole new world that I completely missed in the chronological music ladder, right? So that really changed everything for me. So this would be, yeah, like I said, 2012, 2013. I'm into hardcore now. I know of hardcore bands. I know that there's a scene and that it's current. I just don't know anyone else who's into it until maybe high school, right? So ninth or 10th grade, I see this kid in my school. He's wearing like shirts of bands that I think I'm the only only one that knows about. So like Title Fight and whatever hardcore bands like Backtrack and stuff. I didn't even know Backtrack was from here back then. So um, we meet through a mutual friend. His name was Joe, and we would form a band within the next couple years called Warehouse. So Warehouse was like my first hardcore band. Um, and yeah, he would always invite me to shows, but I was never really allowed to go just because it was like unfamiliar with my parents. They didn't really know what it was about.
Mm.
I didn't try to fight it. I was like, fair enough. I feel like at the time I wasn't missing much, right? But I was allowed to go to certain concerts and shows as long as my brothers were going. And I remember my first ever, I guess, show was the band Citizen. They're like an emo band. They had just dropped their record Youth, and I think this was like their first tour off of that record. But a hardcore band opened. So I guess the first band that I saw was a hardcore band. They were a band called True Love. I don't think they're doing anything now, but they were cool, like just fast,
Hmm.
straight up hardcore band. I was 14 or 15 at the time. And then me and Joe, we would go see like Super Heaven when they just dropped like their second full length. And we were all, yeah, all into like that type of music, that sort of 90s revival, like the Title Fight, Super Heaven, Basement, Citizen. And so yeah, that's how I basically got into hardcore music. But the other band members of Warehouse were some friends he met through Airsoft. This guy Anthony, who now plays in Hangman, and he's filled in for Standstill on a couple tours. He's done a whole bunch of stuff, and his brother Sal, who now plays in Private Mind. Um, but we would all meet and jam, do Warehouse stuff, and we were kind of like the I don't know how to describe it. Maybe like the band, like the go-to kind of like regular hardcore band. We weren't
Hmm.
all too good, but Scanlon would always put us on if he thought there was a good enough bill. And I'm really fortunate for him. He put us on a lot of really good shows. I remember playing with Mind Force a couple times, H2O, Brace War. And this is all off like one release we did and a demo, which was really cool for me being 16, 17 years old. Um, but eventually, like those guys are a couple years older than me, so they had their own stuff going on. I had my own stuff going on. Um, I was more focused on school, I guess. I mean, I really didn't care, but it was important for me to like at least finish and try to find out what I would do after. So eventually, we would not break up, but me, Anthony, and Sal, we would just start jamming. Um, we would jam maybe like once or twice a week, and the stuff that we were writing was different. We knew it sounded different than Warehouse, and it wouldn't fit as Warehouse. It was more melodic. It had a little more substance to them, but we said let's just try it, right? So we played 3 shows with this new sort of sound, and it did not translate well at all. Where people are like, where's the 2-step part, or where's the fast stuff? And yeah, one of those songs ended up being a Private Mind song, and we just decided to start a new band. Um, so we would start the new band, and it'd be, let's say, 2017, 2018. This would be Private Mind, and we really didn't know what we wanted it to sound like. We just knew that it sounded different. But we just decided to go with it and see where it would take us, and I guess that brings us to where we are now with Private Mind. So yeah.
Yeah, so you guys formed in around. Um, I mean, your first release was in 2000, right? Give or take.
To
2020. I'm sorry,
2020. Yeah,
2000.
so it it
2020.
it was weird. So our first release was 2020. We went to go record. Oh, let me be more specific. It was December of 2020, I think. So well after COVID happened. I can't even remember at this point. I know it was COVID was still a thing. It was 2020, but we went to record in 2019. So it took like a whole year for it to get together. And we had the songs already a year or so at that point, right? 2017, 2018. Um, Shows weren't happening. Warehouse had just played um, a show right before COVID. And I guess that kind of kickstarted like, all right, let's just focus on this new band, right? So the Warehouse show I'm talking about was in Ronkonkoma at Frogs.
Okay.
It was us, the band Limit. It was their last show. It was Koyo's first show, and then it was the band No Idea from Lindenhurst. And it was, I swear, maybe like a week or two before everything had shut down. And I think when it shut down, that was kind of when we were like, all right, let's go take this newer band to some other levels, right? So we booked a few days with Greg Thomas at Silver Bullet Studios, who plays an end. And yeah, it was a good time. We recorded, and the songs, he did a lot to produce us, I guess. We went in with pretty bare bones sounding songs. It's only 4 songs, but we're like hardcore kids, we're punk kids. It's not
Right.
like we weren't thinking of anything clever. It was just what sounded pretty cool to us. But he kind of helped take the songs to a level in which would, I think, people would take us a little more seriously. I don't know. I'm speculating, but by the time we did play our first show, which was, oh, actually we played our first show before we had the stuff out. I remember it was 2019 we played our first show. We were under another name called Yes Duke. That was our first band name. It was with the kids who rented um across the hall from us, the rehearsal studio. It was Morty from, he plays in NYC Shootout. They used to play in a band called Sprawl. We all kind of became friends. It was like this weird gray area of like, um, you know, I guess, I don't even know. It was just like Suffolk kids and then us, but they were like really young. They were younger than me. They're like 19, 18 at the time. And I guess bands were breaking up who were older than us or who were like playing shows with us, or that maybe they were going on tour. It's kind of a blur right now, but I do remember playing our first show because the bassist that we ended up recruiting, when he heard the record, he was like, this isn't like what I'd imagine it sounded like. I thought it sounded a little more raw. That was kind of the consensus by a lot of people, is that it sounded not overproduced, but more produced than what they would expect from our band. But I liked it. I thought it was cool. Listening back now, I don't really care for the songs themselves, but we still play a couple of them. People like the songs. But yeah, that was 2020. We would release it, and then it would take a whole nother 2 or 3 years for us to release our second record, which would only have two new songs, and then the other two songs were written at the same time we were waiting for the other songs to be finished, right? So,
Right.
um, what's it called? The single "In Vain", that was like the newer song, and then the last song off that record was also a newer song. But we found a way to kind of make them a little cohesive, despite you know us going through lineup changes at the time and some other internal conflicts that I don't really care to talk about. But that was how that came about.
Yeah. So, you lead into you talking about, in terms of your style, which I kind of described it in the beginning. Kind of two questions here. So, when Private Mind started, was there a certain kind of sound you were like, okay, aiming for, that you were looking to go like a road to go down, and then you kind of go down the different roads as you're writing? And then secondly, what's your writing process like when you write? Do you come in with music? Do you have lyrics written already, or do you guys come together and you put stuff together?
So so yeah, I would say we didn't really have an idea of what we wanted to do. I mean, when we started the band, I was 18 or 19, and I was still finding like so many bands that I'd never heard of before. And for example, when I had found Title Fight for the first time, I literally thought to myself, "Wow, I've been listening to the wrong music like my whole life. This is what I like." And that kind of epiphany would happen a lot more as I started jamming with Anthony and Sal more. They were showing me rival schools, so I knew about Quicksand, but then now they're showing me rival schools, and then they're showing me Texas is the Reason, Glassjaw, Fugazi, all these bands. And I guess you can say we wanted to sound something like that, but dude, we were also we're not really good musicians. Like I want to give ourselves credit, but we were all kind of learning how to play and write music at the same time. It wasn't just like, okay, let's write a band that sounds like this and then just do it. Like, no, we couldn't do that. We were like learning how to do it as we were doing it, if that makes sense. Um Eventually, yeah, I knew what we liked after playing so many shows, right? So as Private Mind, we would play so many shows. We would play with bands that sounded like us. We would play with bands that didn't sound like us. But at the end of the day, I would come to know what I liked, and a lot of that now is just kind of like that '90s groove, right? That mid-tempo groove with melody. So a band I like to cite a lot is Inside. We don't sound like Inside per se, but like that's a band that has groove and they have melody and it's powerful, and that's what I'm going for. Not so much a sound, but more so a um just a feeling. It was like a feeling that we wanted to achieve. I think I could speak for the other members in that. Um and as far as songwriting process, it's changed because with Warehouse, it was, I wasn't really hanging out with those guys, right? I was a little bit younger. Like I could hang out with them, but for the most part, all I cared about was like skateboarding with the kids in my grade, I guess. And but every now and again, a riff would just pop up in my head. I would kind of demo it out, and then I would just send it in the Warehouse group chat, right? And they'd be like, "Cool, this sounds good. Let's try to figure it out next time we meet up." And, they were so bare bones. Like it was just okay, fast part, 2-step breakdown. That's it. Like the formula, right? We call it the formula, and that carried on with Private Mind. But very quickly, the more we played, and especially the older we got, and the more musically mature we got, we just realized that's not going to work. We have to jam. We have to meet up and jam. That's the main thing, and it's it's the same reason why we only have what 8 songs out in the 7, 8 years we've been a band, or 9 songs, whatever. And then the 2 or 3 new ones we've been playing the last few shows. But yeah, it's just we were just finding ourselves, and I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but the show that we talked about before, the one happening in July, that's actually going to be our like quote unquote last show. That's our like we're going on kind of like a hiatus.
I saw you post
We
something like that on Instagram. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
guess we'll get into that. So, yeah, we're there. Like, what is that? You just taking a little break for a little bit?
yeah, so it kind of goes in with that question you asked about like what the songwriting process is like. And the short answer is that it's really long for Private Mind. It takes a long time for me to write a Private Mind song. And now with right now it's just me and Sal, my drummer. Um but we added this kid Gianni who's amazing at guitar. He plays in Liberate, 10 Years Out, Life Taken. He plays in all these bands. He like kind of just started coming around, but we realized there's something special about him. So the three of us have been meeting up to jam, and very quickly we knew that we had to stop accepting some show offers and really hone in on this new sort of feel that we got, because there is something different. And I wish I can just keep accepting shows. Like we've gotten some good show offers that I've had to just turn down, because the more we I guess the more we sell like this other stuff, people are going to start expecting it with the new stuff. But I know very well it's going to be a little bit different, maybe a lot different. The band, the ethos is there. I think we're just finally digging it up. We're finally finding it and honing in on it. So I think, we have plans to put out music after that show, that July 20th show. I don't know when it's going to be, and I'm not being like secretive here. Like I genuinely don't know when it's going to be, and I don't know when a full length is going to happen, despite us really wanting to do it. Um, it's just, yeah, I think we need a little bit of a break and just to rebrand. Most importantly, and yeah, it's weird because as Private Mind, like I kind of touched upon it already. It was basically just a break off from our old band, right? And our old band was a more straight up, more explicitly sounding hardcore band. We never had a clear, I guess, foundation for what we should have been. We knew what we liked, we knew what we were trying to do, but there never was a clear cut kind of image of what the band should be. And that was always the case each year that passed by, each song that we tried to write. And we have demos, man. We have demos, Google Drives filled with a bunch of
Mhm.
songs that we just scrapped because we were like, I don't want to push this. I don't want to sell this. Like it was kind of like all just stepping stones to where we think we are now.
Mhm.
The songs that kind of did stick around, which I am excited to write and record. Um, I just think when you don't have that clear description of your own band, then it puts it in the hands of the audience to decide that for you. And I didn't want that to happen, especially, after doing 2 tours, I realized that sort of quote unquote Long Island sound, right? it goes away the farther from Long Island you go, right? You play out of state shows, it does not translate well. Um and we've had really good shows on tour. It's just people look at us as okay, they're, you know, people were saying we're like a shoegaze band. Like kids don't know, and it's fine. But I wanted to know, most importantly, I wanted to know what we were gonna be, and I think right now I do know what we are, and I need this time to kind of like to hone in on that image,
No,
So
yeah.
yeah, like I say, last show, it's not. Or I don't want it to be at least, but it could very well be our last show for a long time. Could be years.
Mhm.
Um, but we're still a
Or,
band.
with it, there could be, and that was actually my next point with it. Do you find with, this new version of, or whatever you want to call it, of Private Mind, because you said prior to that, it took a long time to write songs. And I hear you talking, and honestly, like back when we were playing in the late 90s, it took my band forever to write songs. It just
Mm-hmm.
did. It was Now it's a little bit easier, I mean, for us to do it. So my question to you is, are you finding it? Is it now that you're finding almost this new identity of the band in a way, a little bit, if that's the right way to put it, that
I
almost it's flowing a
Yeah,
little more in terms of what you want to write, that you feel it
I
could move quicker?
I think that's exactly what it is, um, and I don't mean to get ahead a little bit, but like the record label that I just started, we can get into that later, but I do want to mention that I think it took me having to do that and the two new bands that I put out on that to not just find myself, but to just almost step back and find myself again.
Mm,
Because there was an itch that I wasn't able to scratch with the early Private Mind stuff. Again, I was just a hardcore kid. I wanted to write riffs. I wanted to riff. That's all I wanted to do. And I think it took me having to do that and find myself as a vocalist. Because before I used to just play guitar and sing. Then I stepped off from that, started doing just vocals,
yeah.
felt a little uncomfortable, started doing the heaven hardcore stuff, and then I kind of found myself that I'm using that sort of lens in this new identity of Private Mind. So yes, I guess you could say it's a new identity, but it's so much easier now. It's so much easier when I meet up with the band and I say, this is what our band is. This is what we're gonna achieve. However we get there, doesn't matter. It's gonna happen. That's kind of where we're at right now.
Right. And it sounds like you said there was some lineup changes like that. It happens with a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah.
bands, but it seems like everyone is on the same page with
Yes, for sure.
taking, and it's moving forward and it's
Hmm.
progressing. Really, like that's what it is. And what's pretty cool, you're progressing from a pretty amazing EP that you guys put out a couple of
Thank
years
you.
ago.
I
So
appreciate it.
just for it to like build on that,
Yeah,
um, is pretty awesome. Like In Vain is I know, like that's, there's other ones on there, but that is one of
yeah.
the catchiest
Thank
songs.
you.
Like the moment you hear it, thing doesn't leave your head.
Yeah, and you
In a
mentioned,
good
yeah,
way.
thank you. And you mentioned too, like with your band, like in the '90s, it was, it took a long time to write
It's
songs,
tough.
and
Yeah.
you probably know better than me, but I imagine it was probably hard for a lot of bands in the '90s whose only access to music was through physical media. How
Yeah.
hard it was to write a song. Like think about a kid now who's 14 years old can hop on YouTube like I did and find all these bands, and these bands they have it all together already. They can blend, so this kid can blend whatever sort of version of hardcore they want, or whatever band they want to do, and just make that band again and just make it their own. How easy that is. And I guess I didn't really identify with that. I wanted to just write like something a little more earnest, or in a way that was a little more genuine. But not to say that that's not like that's cool. That's how you get started. But yeah, I can only imagine like back then, like when you have to go out and buy the music or
Yeah.
see the
Gotta
band
go get
live.
it.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I can imagine a lot of people's first bands back then were a lot worse than people's first bands now.
Yeah. So that's exciting though for you guys. And I actually
Yeah.
think it'll move
Thank you.
faster than you think. I really do. So let
Yeah.
me ask, you said 3 songs you've been playing live now, new songs. Are those part of that new crop of songs?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we want to put those out as 3 songs. I think because for a couple reasons. One, because we just really like them and we want our friends to hear them. We've been playing them live, and I just think they're good songs. We are working with some. I don't want to say anything. Um, we're working with a person. to help us put these songs together, whether he knows it or not. But they're being shaped in a way where we can proudly present it to someone, or present it to you guys. Um, but yeah, mostly we just want to have these songs out because we've been playing them and we don't want people to keep waiting.
Mm.
Um, but also we do have other jams in the works that we want to put out on a different record that'll be work towards like our full length, I guess you can say, which is a goal. I do really want to make a full length, a proper full length record, have a proper rollout for this band. But there really is something special about this new stuff we're writing, and I'm really excited to share it with everyone.
That's great, and you're feeling that in that way with it. So probably organically, like
Yeah.
it's just more stuff is just coming out, and it's
Hmm.
easier to write. It's fun to write. So
Exactly.
quick, go back quickly. Just when we go back with the EP, the truth you see. How did you guys connect with Triple B?
Yeah, it really isn't like a special story, and I can't even tell you the real reason. So all I know is our bassist Mike Varley, he was I guess having a chat with one of the Koyo guys or having a chat with John Scanlon. Um, but Koyo was on Triple B, and I think again I don't know for sure. I think they had a slot reserved for vinyls with Triple B before they decided to sign with Pure Noise. And Scanlon has been a middleman for Triple B for other bands too, and I think he just kind of recommended us or like reached out to Sam from Triple B and was like, "Hey, like, do you want to try this band from Long Island?" Like, he believed in us, and a lot of people did too. And Sam was like, "Yeah, sure." And we kind of just got that slot for vinyls. It was going to be a 12-inch, but we didn't have a 12-inch I guess amount of songs. So what we did was we just did the new songs on side one and then the old songs on side B. And yeah, that's really how it came about. And I'm
Mhm.
very um for I don't take that for granted at all. I think it helped us get, a lot of new people outside of Long Island to listen to us. You go to a show, everyone's wearing a Triple B hat.
Yeah.
I went to the Philippines, met up with a bunch of hardcore kids. Everyone's got Triple B merch
Mhm.
on their hat and their shirts, and it was just really cool. And again, it was kind of like Scanlon's endeavor, and I'm really glad that he believed in us. We did our record release, and it performed um a lot better than I thought it would have. And he even said to me, he was like, "Dude, you should give yourself some more credit." I he doesn't know anything about like what goes on internally, but I think he could kind of sense that I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work. I don't know if people are gonna fuck with this. But looking at looking back at all the shows and even just watching some of the sets on YouTube, it's like, you know, we have a very specific fan base. A lot of it's our friends, but and whether they were our friends before fans or fans before friends, they're our friends, and it's like it feels like a scene. It feels like a community, and that's what I'm most proud about with the truth you see. Because I do hint at like my um I guess sort of like what I wasn't happy about in hardcore. I'm not in a I wouldn't say I'm in a position where I can have a say on what's cool or what goes on or whatever, like for to a lot of people I'm very much just like a spectator or like an observer. And instead of complaining about things, it's we wanted to or I wanted to push the idea of you can make something your own with like that hardcore ethos, because hardcore very much is like finding the solutions to your problems, whatever it may be, instead of just complaining about it or whatnot. And I think just looking back at all those shows, we achieved that. We achieved what we wanted to do with that record, and it's helped bring a scene together, a community together. While there's other guys who are on tour or doing bigger things. Not to say that that's a problem. It's just like when you don't have someone holding it down, it can go array. It can go very wrong, or the scene can go in a way that no one wanted to. So I I think with the truth you see, it it helped to kind of bring just a maybe a new wave of people grounded, you know?
Yeah, and you guys went out and you supported that. I had Jay from Last Laugh on one of my first few episodes, and we talked a
Yeah.
little about the run you guys did together last summer. You've done a
Mhm.
couple of different tours, but he said how that came together, and that must have it sounded like a blast. I mean, it was just you and your friends just going out,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
toured up and down this, you went down south, right? And then
Yeah,
you
we
went,
went down kind of mid not midwest, but like yeah, we went a little south and a little west, but the first tour we did, we went down to Florida and up, and then with Last Laugh we went a little more west. So, yeah, that was a good time. That was fun.
yeah. How do you guys go about structuring your set list now? So I know that there's going to be a little pause. So at the time of this comes out, that show, that Long Island show, it's good. It's got a pretty heavy hitter lineup that you play. You know, a bunch of you guys playing. But how do you structure your set list now? Because you have some of your you have your older stuff, you have some new stuff. Do you play everything? Is there a song that you out of the old stuff that you love playing? Are there songs that you're like, I do not want to play that one anymore? Like, how do you go
Yeah.
about
All
going about your set list?
right, I have an answer for all of those questions. Let me
Mhm.
see if I can. Yeah, so um we used to just play all the 8 songs, right? The 2 EPs. And in terms of structuring them, it would be like, all right, let's hit hard with the shorter, faster ones, and then kind of I mean all our songs are really kind of heavy in the not heavy in like the sense of like, like heavy hardcore. Like no, they're very like hard hitting and emotional. We don't really have like a soft song per se. Um but we would generally start out with a shorter, faster song like Fade from Me or like the D Beat one, Open Door. And then when we used to play like the old EP, we would do like Catching on Too Late, which is kind of like a kind of got a weird like post hardcore drum beat. Um After The Truth You See came out, we would definitely try to either start or end with In Vain, just because that's probably the song that most people have heard of us,
Yeah.
so um but
Yeah, well,
then
that
after
single, I
the
remember it dropped I was everywhere,
yeah, yeah,
which is
that
awesome. You
that
know, it's super
kind of
catchy.
like
So
caught me by surprise, and it was really cool when like dudes like Brendan from Incendiary, like we played with them at the Bowery, and he mentioned it like in front of all these people, and I was like, that's so crazy. Like this is a band that I was like listening to as a kid, and now they're listening to to
yeah.
my music. But so yeah, we would either start or end with that song. Um and then just kind of figure it out in between. Mostly like we mostly structured it in a way where we could have stamina, I guess, because at the time, like I said, I was playing guitar and singing at the same time, and that takes a lot out of you. And
Yeah.
Sal, our drummer, he's a very consistently hard hitting drummer. Um, and I think we would always, whether we knew it or not, try to structure the set list around, okay, will we have enough breath to go into this song, or should we take a break and then go into this song? Like because they're all very hard hitting songs, in my opinion. But after the addition of the 3 new ones we've been playing, it's been just kind of been like, whatever we feel like doing, whatever flows well into the next one. Um, Also to mention, now that I'm just singing, I don't have to worry about um tuning up a guitar or like a string breaking, and that's happened a lot. Like I play the guitar very hard, more than harder than I have to. I've broken a lot of strings on stage. It's kind of set us back on stage a little bit too often, but I don't have to worry about that anymore. I can kind of focus just on singing. I have a little more stamina now that I'm not focusing on that as well, like trying to hit the right notes or whatever.
Mhm.
um but yeah, I think well, you mentioned, is there a song we don't play? Yeah, there is a song we don't play, and no diss to Jay Reason at all, but it's the song we released as a single under his label,
Oh, it's Static
Strangers.
Era.
It's the song Strangers, a
Mhm.
very pop sounding song. This was by no fault of his at all. It's just what we had. And it was also a weird transition period for us. He signed us. We just decided, okay, what you know, what could go wrong? Nothing went wrong, but we didn't know what we wanted to do, and we had this song. Um, we decided to put it out with him, and man, we a lot of people love this song. I don't like. I knew it always sounded a little unfinished to me. I love how it sounds though. We recorded it with Tone Corallo, who plays in Kill Your Idols, the drummer.
Yep.
He's super cool. It's his birthday today, actually. Happy birthday, Tone! If you are listening to this, but he recorded that. I love how it sounds. Just don't like the song. It's very just not us. It never was. I don't even remember how it came about. I think I think that might have been one of the songs where I wrote, sent to the guys, and just decided, yeah, I guess we'll do it. Like kind of like the old days back in warehouse where I'd write a riff, send it to them, and I guess that's a lesson learned where you it's better that we just jammed, or should have jammed. But yeah, yeah, again, no diss to Jay. Jay's awesome. He really really believed in us. He had high, I guess not expectations, but like he wanted to do a lot for us. And I remember giving him the call and was like, "Yo, we're gonna do this with someone else, like the record." But he was super cool about it. He was bummed. He was super cool though. He still is. He'll pop out to shows every now and again, on Long Island, and we'll see him. He's super awesome. I'm glad he gave us that chance and we
Yeah.
got to do that. The song's still up. We're not ever gonna take it down, I don't think. But our friends do like the songs. It's a
It's,
very like it's like a ballad, It's like
yeah.
like
It's a good song.
a
It's a good
sing
song.
songy, yeah.
It's
But
a
that's
good
one
song.
song where
Yeah.
we're never gonna play again. Sorry.
It's cool. It's part of your catalog, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jay's a
You got to
Jay's
be
a
proud. Yeah.
Jay's a great guy. Like
Yeah, I
him,
love the
and
episode you did with him. I've
yeah.
listened to bro, let me just say first of all that this has been one of my favorite podcasts. Like
Oh, I
I'm not
appreciate
even
that.
trying.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I can't listen to a lot of podcasts. They're so annoying. Sometimes the host is just too much and like you're very concise with it. So I just wanted to stop and say that
Appreciate
real
that.
quick.
Thank you. Thank you. So, do you look at streams when you're looking at songs? Like you're like, or like when you guys went on tour, do you go on Spotify for artists and all right, we're playing in South Carolina. Is this song playing, or you like you go
Mm,
by feel? You know what I mean?
yeah, not at all. Are you still talking about in terms of like making the set list or just in
Set list.
general?
Yeah, I'm
Like, yeah,
sorry.
set
Yeah.
list. Yeah, no, I don't look at that stuff at all. I don't look at streams. I don't look at numbers. I don't look at Instagram comments, YouTube comments, none of that. Partly because I just don't care to
Hmm.
see what people think. And also because I kind of cared too much about what I thought and I didn't want anyone to, I guess, validate that, Like, again, there's too many weird times with Private Mind where I was like, not identifying with it. So I'll look at them now. I was watching YouTube videos recently, and it's really cool to see what people have to say, good or bad. Not that there's a lot of bad ones, but it is cool seeing the streams too. Like I've never paid attention to it until someone brought it. I think I forget what who sent it to me, but they're like, oh, the song "Lifted Up" has like 10,000 plays, or I'm just like, oh, like 10. Wait, I don't even know how many actually. It probably is 10,000. It was a high number in my brain. I was like, that's pretty cool, because I don't really listen to the songs on Spotify or streaming. So
You're higher than that. Let's
yeah.
put it that
Okay, well,
way.
that's
So, but
cool.
yeah. So it shows right there. You
Yeah,
do not look at it at all.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't
So,
look at it at all.
yeah. So do you? You know what? I wanted to ask you something. So it's something playing guitar and singing at the same time. I like so I'm a lead vocalist. I
Yeah.
attempted to play bass back in high school. I was awful. So I just put the thing down, realizing that I was I'm lefty. I was playing it righty the whole time. So that was
Mm.
probably the problem. But
Yeah.
do you miss playing guitar and singing and like singing at the same time in a band? Or is it just it's easier to focus on one thing?
Definitely easier to focus on one thing. I don't miss doing both at the same time, but I was really missing playing the guitar. Um, I just I'm not a lyricist or a vocalist, or I never really was. So like Private Mind's the first band I ever sang for, and you if you've seen the live sets throughout the years, you can see how much I've actually like came in, like really like just honed in on it.
Hmm.
And I was just like I'm really just like learning how to sing now, like um yeah, I don't miss playing both. I do miss playing the guitar, but when we write now, like when I meet up with the guys to write, I am on the guitar. I'm never really on the vocals. Um unless I have like an idea that I want to share with them, but that kind of goes with with me starting the Heaven bands and wanting to just riff on the guitar again. Just
Mhm.
even though I do sing in one and play guitar in the other, I write the guitar for pretty much all of it. So yeah, I guess I don't miss doing both. That it's hard. It's a lot to do, you know.
But guitar is something, like you said from the start, you've been playing since you were a kid.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that's never going to go away,
Right.
right? Right. So, I wanted to ask you something vocally, because you have a really good voice.
Thank
And
you.
do you feel as you go, you're getting more confident with doing certain things, especially with some of the new private mind stuff that's being worked on?
Yeah,
Things that you like, maybe you weren't as confident to do 4 years ago that you are now.
for sure. And especially because um nowadays, right? Like I'm not just listening to music to see what I can pull from guitar wise. You know, I'm listening to other vocalists. I'm seeing what they do, kind of like taking on their persona as almost like a joke. Like in band practice, like I'll pretend to do, I'll pretend to do Daryl, or I'll pretend to do Crown of Thorns, right? Like as a joke, but somehow tie that in anyways because it's just I realize that it's fun to do, and
Mm.
I'm also learning how to scream a little better. Like I never tried to do a full on I guess like a metal scream, like a metal core scream. I've always wanted to do the title fight thing where it was just kind of like an honest yell with some tone in it, you know, with some
Mhm.
melody. I guess, you know, my favorite vocalists are like, you know, I love Mind Over Matter, one of my favorite bands. Like I love that kind of like street kid, skater voice sounding guy. You know, like that kind of voice really I identify with. I know I don't really sound like it so much now, but I think it's just because I'm getting better at doing a lot of other things. Like I am getting better at hitting notes, and I'm also getting better at doing like the screamy yelling stuff. So it really just is like me learning, you know,
Right.
that I'm finding it a lot more comfortable.
No, it's great. It's exciting to hear where you're going with it too.
Thanks.
So I guess let's talk. Having hardcore. I mentioned in the
Sure.
beginning you had that somewhat new. I would guess. I know you dropped.
Yeah.
You had a show that you put together. You have a couple of releases. Where did you mentioned it? But let's talk a little. What was this something you've always wanted to do? And then it's just like for me, I've wanted to do this podcast for a couple of years. Finally got moving on it a couple of years ago. Was it like that, or was just kind of moved quick? Where you're like, okay, I have this idea. Let's go.
Yeah. It was the second one. It moved very quick. I never had a thought in my mind to do a label. I honestly still I don't even know what I'm doing, man. It's just something that like a chill thing I wanted to do. So I can tell you the story about it. I after so we played a show. Private Mind played a show with Incendiary at the Bowery August of 24, right? So just last summer. And this was my last show playing guitar and singing at the same time and one of our bigger shows and I felt extremely uncomfortable just being up there um and I just wasn't having it. We played the show and then I just sat there and kind of just like, enjoyed the rest of it. But I let the other guys know I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take a little break right now. Um, it was just something weird. I just felt kind of like a fraud, kind of just like singing these songs. It was like a weird thing. There's no other like reason I guess, but I knew that I wanted something different. I wanted to do something different. I mentioned before, like there was still that itch, like to play hardcore music and to play like more explicitly sounding hardcore. So that's when I first started thinking about just a new band, right? But then it wasn't until like New Year's, like pretty much just a few days after New Year's of 2025 this year, 2025. I just had that idea. I'm like, what if I just made a kind of like a fun, record label. My buddy Chris, who sings in one of the bands, Defilade, he had the idea for that band. And I was like, I can hit him up. We can do like that type of band. And then what if I just did like a 90s groovy Crown of Thorns leeway type of band where I can just straight up just have fun because I loved all that stuff and I wanted to make it too. I wanted to make that type of music. I came up with the idea, sent the idea to our drummer Sal. I wanted him to be a part of it because he does like artwork and stuff. He does a lot of the hand styles you see for a lot of bands now. So he did the Pain of Truth letters, like the No Blame, He does like the Last Laugh stuff. He does a lot of stuff. Um, but I knew I wanted him to be a part of it just because he's like one of my best friends. So I brought the idea up to him like, yo, I want to do a label. I want to do a band like this, and I want to do another band like this. You're gonna be in both of them. I'm gonna be in both of them, and then Gianni's gonna be in both of them. Chris is gonna be in both of them. But it's just gonna be like one of them's gonna sound happy, the other one's gonna sound evil, but it's gonna be the same groovy feel. And he was just like, sure, okay, let's do it. And then we came up with the name because I had the song idea for the first song, which was leaked on YouTube, and they we put on a show. Like there's a band that I met called Torrent. They're from Rochester. I met them at a house show in East Northport, or one of the guys at a house show in East Northport. We became friends, and he said, "Yo, we're coming back to Long Island. Can you book us? It's us and this band Auto Ignition." I said, "Yeah, yeah, sure." Like I had no business booking shows. I've never really done it before. I was just like, okay. So I hit up the VFW. They were super cool. They were like, "Let's do it." Um, we didn't even have all the music out yet for or written for the Heaven bands. I had one song for one band, and I was like, okay, let's write like two or three more. So we ended up writing for the other two for two songs for the one band, then two songs for the other band. But booked the show. It was a really good show. It was like one of the best shows. I it's my show. Like I feel weird saying that, but it was genuinely one of the most fun I've had at a show. Um, and yeah, it kind of just came together really fast. So we came up with the idea in January, wrote all the songs in February, played the show in March, and so we had plans. All right, I'm gonna tell you right now. I leaked the songs on YouTube myself, and by the time this comes out, I'm sure everyone will know that already. I leaked it on YouTube, but here's why: we had an idea for artwork. We wanted to rip off a photo. We hit someone up to do it. He said he's down, but he's not going to be around till June. I said that's fine, but then the singer in the other band's not going to be around till the end of June. I was like, I'm not going to wait that long. I put it out myself on YouTube just so our friends could kind of hear it because I know they've been wanting to. I've like literally the day before I put it on YouTube, I had two people ask me, "Yo, can you send me the tracks?" I was like, "Whatever, I'm gonna put it on YouTube." Um, but yeah, that's gonna come out soon. I'm waiting on artwork, and that's pretty much how that came about. And in terms of like other releases and stuff, I do have some other releases planned for it, and they're just our friends. I wanted to keep it chill, keep it DIY, keep it
Mm.
hardcore, kind of like a no pressure, just do it whenever I feel like it type of thing.
Yeah, so you're looking at streaming vinyl, or you're just gonna take it as you go, release to release.
Streaming and then like sell tapes at shows. I don't have
Cool.
plans to put up a website. It really is just not like a something I'm interested in doing. But I want to keep it as authentic and as genuine as possible.
Yeah, so you have a goal for it, but ultimately it's just like you're going with it. It's like
Yeah,
you're kind of going, seeing how it comes along. That's
exactly.
great. That's great.
Yeah,
I think that first show you did was in February, right?
yeah. It was at the end of
Deadshot and yeah,
yeah, the end of March. It was the end of March,
hit the
and
bar. I apologize. Yeah, yeah.
it
Okay.
was funny. Like I hit up Deadshot, and they're younger than me. That I hit them up, and they were going through some lineup changes too. And they're like, "Yeah, we'll play." And then they were like, "Actually, can you play bass for us?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like, let me play bass for you guys." So I played the first three sets of that show, and then finally I
That's
could
amazing.
relax and watch the other band. So,
Yeah, that's
but
when they were
yeah,
looking for their new bassist at that time.
yeah,
That's great that you did
yeah,
that.
they're cool. They're
So
cool, good
so
kids.
you have a lot of like it's obviously a lot within music with the label with the bands and all that kind of stuff. You kind of talked about it, but let's bring it together with it. Obviously, with the title of this podcast is talking about what the future could hold. So
Sure.
let's fast forward to the end of the year.
Okay.
And I know you're not sure yet because with Private Mind, but if you ultimately, Dan, you had like this is what it could be. Where do you see Private Mind in December of like the end of this year? I don't know why I'm using that random month, but at the end of
No,
this
yeah,
year,
no.
yeah, like your hope is like I hope this is where it's at right now.
I hope I've thought about this too. It's funny. I want those three songs we've been playing to be out and have it be the best shit that we've written so far. I That's the only goal I have right now. I guess you could say till the end of the year, just to have those songs out.
Mhm.
Um,
And they're not recorded, right?
no, not
Not
recorded. We
yet.
have countless demos, and we're always changing the songs. The more
Mhm.
we play them live too, it's just like we're and that's what
You
I
fine
like
tune them,
about
right?
yeah, I
Yeah.
like playing songs live that aren't out because like exactly you can fine tune them. That's really it. That's really the only hope I have because I know if I shoot a little higher, it's not. I don't think it's
Mhm.
gonna get there. But in terms of after that though, I want Private Mind to be the band that I've been envisioning it to be for a few months now. You know, I think we can get there. That's really all.
Cool. Now, do you see, and maybe shows, it depends. Like, I'm sure
Yeah, yeah,
things
for
might come
sure.
your way, but like, you know what? Yeah,
Yeah, I
we're
think
gonna
with
have
a
to play this.
proper record rollout comes with shows. You're gonna have to sell your product, and I don't know what other way to say it, but yeah, you gotta sell your product. You know,
Mhm. So, Dan, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
genuinely, I see myself kind of in the same this not in a bad way, right? Like the same sort of light that I see myself now, which is just I'm always going to shows. I'm always going to be writing music. I'm always going to be supporting my friends' music. And that's, I'd never thought to have anything else. But dude, I never even thought I was going to go on a tour, you know,
Hmm.
or a weekend. Um, I don't like the idea of trying to be like a big rock star type of thing with this stuff. But I think um, because of that sort of that grounded like all right I'm just like a hardcore kid, I'm just the emo kid. I think that ethos itself has brought us to all the opportunities that I was able to do, you know, meeting a bunch of people out of state, a bunch of friends, going on tour, putting out records through Triple B, you know. In terms of where in 5 years it could pretty much be the same, and I don't see myself being any different. I love it here. I love like the scene. um Maybe just everything that I'm doing now just more, you know. There's gonna be a new wave of kids. And again, I say this like I'm I'm older. No, I'm not old. I'm 26 now, but it's like even now there are new kids, you know, starting bands and stuff. Maybe I'll put out a new kids band on my label in 5 years, and maybe they'll take it to heights if they want, you know. um yeah, I don't know. I In terms of hardcore, that's just really, this is just something that I do, and I I I think I have a very respectful relationship with hardcore. You know, I don't want to overstep what I grew up thinking hardcore was. I don't want to change it because it's always changing, right? With new bands that come out, it's always changing. I don't want to oversee it. And I don't want to be in charge. I like being a part of it, and I
Mhm.
think in 5 years, that's where I see myself, just being a part of it. You know?
Yep. No, great outlook, man.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll end off. I have a list of
Sure.
questions here. First thing that comes to mind, you want to elaborate, you elaborate on it, okay?
Cool.
Favorite show you've ever played? Which I think you just said before, actually. More
Yeah, there's a few. Um, I think right now, just I think the my favorite show has been the show we played with Inside at Amityville Music Hall for a couple reasons. Um, that was the first show back after the reopening of AMH, like after they had remade it. It was funny, like we were all just figuring out like what to do. I remember walking in, they're like, "Where do we put merch?" And they're like, I don't know." So it was just a cool. It just felt very exciting for everyone, and also we love Inside. Like we have cited them as influence for specifically for the song In Vain. Like I remember ripping off a specific part, and we since that show we've been really good friends with their guitarist, and we've been in touch with him, um, John Flo, and yeah, I think that show was probably my favorite so far. There's a lot of good ones, but that one I'm gonna just say that one for those reasons.
That means a lot. Favorite show you've ever went to?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's a lot of shows.
Hmm.
Man, I don't know. I want to say like any show that happened at the VFW, it's always a good vibe. The Massapequa VFW.
Yeah.
There's just always a I can't even think of a show that I've been to that I haven't played. Now that I think about it, but I I guess I'll just credit that like any show that I've been to at the Massapequa VFW. Big shout out to John Argandito who pretty much like found that um venue and also to Scanlon and all the other people that booked there. But I like floor shows. I can't think of one off the top. I know after we end
Yeah.
the stream I'm gonna think of one, but nah, just any show at the VFW is a good vibe.
Cool. Favorite place to play outside of New York?
I really liked playing. It's not around anymore, but the Wham Leg in Connecticut. Um, it was just a cool room. I don't know exactly what it was. I think bands rehearsed there, maybe. I don't know, but it was just a it's just a cool spot. It's not around anymore, but we I have a lot of good memories. We played there maybe twice or three times, but the friends we made, like Connecticut locals and stuff, it was those are memories that I'll kind of keep with me forever. Like uh, our first tour was with a band called Centralia, and they're from Connecticut, and our friends in Montclair who we've played countless shows with, who are recording right now. Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to say the Wem Leg in Connecticut.
Cool. Your top three most influential albums for you?
Oh, okay. This is easy. I'm gonna just say Title Fight Shed for the reason that I kind of stated before, and that it was like very formative for me. Being 12, 13 years old, and just it really helped to open the doors for like emo and hardcore or emo within hardcore. Um, I guess second, I'm gonna have to say Quicksand Slip, kind of for that same reason. Um, Even though I like a lot of other Quicksand records more, or listen to a lot of other Quicksand records more, I think that one I can credit to being sort of that same like influential, formative record for me. And then third, I don't know. I don't really have a third. I'm gonna just say Open Mouth Kiss Leeway, just because it's been on rotation
Hmm.
for like 2 or 3 years for me now. I'm always listening to that record. So let's just say that one.
Great record.
Yeah.
A band or artist you like that may surprise people?
Hmm. Any might not surprise a lot of people, but any like love pop, any pop music, just like good pop written music. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like 2010s pop in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like a band. I don't know. Listen to Jane's Addiction a lot.
Never see them again live.
Yeah, no, yeah. But yeah, that's I'll throw them on. They're just cool. They're just like a funky band. I
Yeah.
don't know, and I think people would be surprised if I listen. My friends know I listen to Jane's Addiction, but I don't think anyone else really knows that. So yeah.
Cool. What did you listen to last?
Oh, what did I listen to last? I have my Spotify up. Let's see. I don't even know.
It's funny. Everyone I have, when I ask this question, everyone has to go back. They forget. I do too. I was just like, what was that? I was listening to you guys before.
Oh.
I actually do remember that, but
Oh,
it's hard
Paramore.
to remember that.
I was listening to Paramore, their latest record. This is why. I
Hmm.
love Paramore. They're like top five bands for me. Oh,
Cool.
maybe I could have said that. Like that's a band that people probably are surprised that I like
Hmm.
outside of just my friends. But yeah, the last thing I listened to was Paramore.
Most underrated band on the island.
Currently, or just like in general.
Uh, well, one
I'm
that
all
comes
right,
to mind. It could be anyone.
dude. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say Hangman. Like they had their run. They're genuinely. I think my favorite Long Island band is Hangman. Um, and it's just funny because we're like, I guess like friends with them, but like, yeah, they were. I have a lot of memories with Hangman. We Warehouse played their first show with them, and then since then, Mike Smith would always try to put us on, and he's doing Pain of Truth now and stuff. And I don't know if they have any other plans, but I would say because for that reason that most people just know Pain of Truth,
Hmm.
Hangman gets kind of swept under the rug. But I'll just say that. but I guess on a more um a general look, maybe like Mind Over Matter. I don't know.
Hmm.
They especially now knowing like, I've gone like a deep dive like history of this stuff, and I'm just like, wow, like people need to credit them a little more. Like, I mean, I ripped off like a couple of their lyrics in The Truth You See. So
They've influenced
uh,
a lot of bands, a lot of
a
big
lot of bands
bands.
outside of hardcore too,
Yep.
like a lot. So
Yep.
I'll say those two bands.
Okay. A song that you wrote that you're most proud of, and you have a couple different bands and stuff. So
I'm gonna say In Vain. If it's funny because I just said I ripped off the lyrics, but no, it was the most different sounding song that Private Mind has done at the time, and I think that even while we were recording it, when Greg said that like he really heard that one being like the first or like the single, um, and it took me like having to not listen to it for a while and then play it again to really see, I guess, like how special it was. I just think it's one of those songs that you don't hear kind of something that sounds like that, at least with the bands that we play with or associate ourselves with. So I'm gonna say that one. And then also, again, it's not officially out yet, but the first song off of the Heaven split, it's called Heaven by the band I sing in, Top of the World. It's on YouTube if you guys want to hear it. But that one, it's my favorite because I wrote it with Sal and Gianni and recorded the original demo in less than an hour. Like it was the easiest time I ever had
it
writing.
came together. Yeah.
Yeah, it just came together, and I had the lyrics for it, and it sparked pretty much the rest of the record and the state of that label. So
Cool. Now you've obviously collaborated with a lot of different people, with all these different bands and stuff. But was an art someone you would like to collaborate with?
Walter Schreifels, just because he produced the title fight stuff, and I love Quicksand, I love Rival Schools. Funny story. I remember. I think it was Walter or it was Quicksand who like followed and unfollowed Private Mind in a split second. And I was like, damn it. Like I wish it stayed, but it went away. But I was like, they know about the band, so it
That's cool though.
might not be too far off, that we could work with them. I think all I
Uh,
gotta do is send a message, but never tried. So
I'm going to ask this anyway, even though you said it before. But your
sure.
favorite Long Island venue, other
Yeah,
than that, speak with VFW.
I
I guess.
mean, yeah, the Massapequa VFW is a good one.
By the way, and I agree with you. I think it's amazing that VFW hall shows are going on. When I had Scanlon on here, I was talking to him about that
Yeah,
because that's I grew up. That's where we went. We went to VFW halls all the
yeah.
time, and it's amazing that Massapequa still does that and does it strong. They do like 2 shows a month. It's great.
And if you couldn't tell already, I love anything 90s, anything early 2000s. Like I think that's most kids. Like they love the generation that comes before them, and they want to do
Mhm.
everything that they're doing. And like seeing all those videos at VFWs and like the kids moshing and all that stuff. It's just comfortable to play there. I do love AMH now. Um, I love more so the fact that we can bring bigger bands out
Yeah.
here, and kids who don't have access to a car or a train ride, right, or like money to like go out to Brooklyn or go out to the city to go see the same bands that now they can now see here
Right.
at AMH, and it kind of like filled that void of Revolution not being around anymore. And yeah, but yeah, the VFW is definitely my favorite.
All right. Last one here, man. Favorite Long Island venue that closed.
Hmm. I think I'm gonna have to say Deja One just from the videos, and I've never been there, but like just the bands that played and
The
like
place was the best.
the history, and like again,
Yeah.
I've listened to the other episodes of your podcast, and it's just like, damn, like that sounds like it just sounds cool. It looks cool. Obviously, I don't know what it's like, but and I guess I could also say old AMH, like that was like yeah, it closed me. It's still there, but like
I know what you
there was
mean.
something
Yeah.
special, And again, as much as I love the new AMH and how fortunate I was to play the first show back, there was a time where we were playing a show there, not just Private Mind, where just like my other bands were playing shows there, twice a week, every weekend for months straight. And big shout out to like the Bad Idea Collective and the Hard Knock Records guys. They were putting on shows. It was affordable, you know. They were putting on shows all the time, and I found myself hanging out there all the time, and it was really something special. And I think right now with AMH, it's like still breaking in. You know, it's still, they're trying out new things. They're trying out like the floor show that just happened last night,
Yeah.
and they're doing like the retractable wall. Um, Despite it all, I think we should just embrace the fact that it is bigger and it's a mid-sized venue, and you're gonna be able to see bands that you don't have to drive out to the city for,
Right.
or Jersey or whatever. So, but yeah,
Long
all
Island is
AMH.
very fortunate to have that place.
We're
It's
just fortunate to
yep.
have any venue at this point.
Great.
Like we have so many, and they're. I was having this conversation the other night with my friends, but they're gonna come and go. Like venues are gonna come and go.
Right.
Take care of it and enjoy it.
Yep. Agreed. It's crazy too. You think of the older AMH. Hey, it's some great acts. Like you're talking Quicksand. Quicksand. Remember the Quicksand played there, and
Yeah.
and the Get Up
Oh,
Kid. I'm wearing a Get Up Kids shirt. The
Get
Get Up
Up
Kids
Kids.
played there
Yeah.
right as COVID hit. I actually remember that. So
Yeah, and just the shows that I've played too there, like with
yeah.
with the bigger bands too, and like there was a time where I was seeing like Mind Force a lot, like they were coming down here a
Yeah.
lot. Dude, they're a loud band, and them and AMH, they're just that much louder.
Yeah.
So yeah, good venue.
Dan, thanks, man. It's awesome discussion here. Anything you want to end off with?
No, just thank you for having me. And I'm really glad I got to do this, and just yeah, this was really cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. In a year from now, when your album drops, we'll do a follow up episode
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. All right.
yeah, sir.
All right. Hang tight, man. I'll sign this off here.
Sure.
Thank you for listening to the What Lies Ahead podcast, which is available on all streaming platforms. Go save the What Lies Ahead podcast playlist on Spotify that features all bands that were on the show. For more information on future episodes, you can go to my Instagram account and follow at What Lies Ahead _podcast and on Facebook by searching What Lies Ahead podcast. See you on the next episode.